I think yesterday can go down as a good day because Stephen Yaxley Lennon was released, Tommy Robinson. People need to understand something. Stephen Yaxley Lennon is his name. Tommy Robinson is the movement. It's one of those everyman names that Tommy Robinson, Joe Soap, you know what I'm saying? So when people say, oh, that's not his real name, it always amuses me, like we know. Anyway, an update from that via some of his close friends that I'm in WhatsApp with. Yesterday, went to his mother's for a big breakfast. He went to the local butcher in Luton first to pick up about 100 weight of black pudding and white sausages to add to his full English breakfast. Well, you would want that, wouldn't you, after you've been living on crisps and tuna? He did say the guards and everything. I did say that yesterday. We're very good with him. And then within about an hour and a half of that, he went to his favourite Italian restaurant and had chicken salt and pork. Sorry, that just tickled me. Get it down, you lad, you deserve it. There's a woman I know she's in a WhatsApp group, you know. It's nothing to do with politics. It's like kids and dogs and gardens and stuff like that. And she said, oh, you mean that June will be pleased because that awful man has been released from prison. So I bit, I'm afraid. I said, do you mean that awful man that you don't know anything about because you don't know anything about politics? Do you remember that night when your son got arrested for drink driving and he had to spend a night in cells and he was in meltdown, trying to bribe police to get him out? Do you remember that night? One night in cells, how you behaved? This is somebody's son you're talking about. Months of solitary confinement. This is for a paperwork crime. No victim. Nobody got injured. Nobody got maimed. Nobody lost any money. Nobody was sexually assaulted. Nothing went on. And this is the kind of sentence he got. And, you know, let's face it, if it wasn't for marrying well, where would you be? I'd just let rip. I'm sorry, it wasn't one of my better moments, but I kind of enjoyed it because I'm sick of people making prejudgmental things when they don't know anything about what he represents. And the difference is, someone said to me this morning, the difference with Tommy, good politicians are supported, but Tommy's actually loved. That's how people see him. That's how his core supporters see him, and I think they've every right to see him like that. And so not only did we have that yesterday, where he's been released, and obviously hang on. I'm absolutely crap at I'm absolutely crap at tech. Thanks for being patient. This is my second goodie, but I'm going to play it for you because it's worth it. It's worth it. So you know that Nigel's had this press conference talking about his policies because he's been being pulled to pieces about how he's able to afford it all. I thought this was belting. I think it's somebody from the Times or the Financial Times, not too sure, but pompous journalist. I mean, let me give people some advice. Never be a smart ass with Nigel Farage. You won't win. Don't be a smart ass. It won't pay off. Are you ready?
In your speech, we do want to know how you're going to pay for the policies that you've announced today. You've mentioned a couple of pretty big measures that will bring in savings, but even those won't quite cover the cost of your already announced tax plans, like the 20,000 threshold. So what I'm wondering is, are you going to tell us today how you're going to pay for winter fuel allowance, for scrapping the two-child benefit cap, and for the new married couples allowance? Are you going to tell us how you paid for these measures that you've announced today, or have you got a magic money tree growing in your back garden?
All right, you started it. The cost of net zero to the taxpayer, figures produced by the Institute of Government, are estimated between 2025 and 2030 to cost £45 billion every single year. The cost of asylum seeker accommodation, be it hotels or be it houses of multiple occupancy, as I mentioned earlier, £4 billion every year. That may be a slightly low estimate because actually the overall costs of illegal immigration are much higher. DEI, as researched by Defunding Political Campaigns, estimated to cost government £7 billion every year. Quangos, just a 5% cut. And by the way, do you remember in the general election, we suggested a 5% cut? You thought, you know, what dreadful people we were. Impossible, it can't be done. And yet the government now proposing a 5% cut. Well, we're proposing a 5% cut to Quango funding, which would over a 5-year term be £65 billion. If you add all that up, you've got a pretty eye-watering number of 350 billion. And whilst that may be, I accept, slightly optimistic, because it's difficult always to cut everything, I think you can see very clearly the direction that we're going in. We can't afford net zero. It's destroying the country. We can't afford DEI. It's actually preventing many talented people from succeeding. And we certainly can't afford young, undocumented males crossing the English Channel and living in 5-star hotels with 3 square meals a day and free dental and healthcare. I think that gives you a pretty good indication of where savings are going to come from. Plus whatever else we can find. And if we find it at local government level, we'll find it at national government level too.
Now, for me, yesterday was a good day. And let's face it, I'm the living example that you can support two things at once. You can support the work of street journalism through Tommy Robinson. You can support political stuff through Reform or Nigel Farage. You can support other people if you want. But I do what's best for me, obviously. And because I've got quite a big platform, I share it with other people. I want to protect what I've built up. And the only way I can see that happening is for me to support Reform. I'll never join the party. I'll never join a political party. I don't do this because I want to get noticed and stand for a party. I don't think my husband would be very pleased. It's bad enough with how much time this takes up. But the thing is, I've got quite a lot of things right over the last 10 years and I've used my contacts well. So I am a pretty neutral voice, actually. I'm not sided. I don't side with people because they've said something I like. I choose who I support because it's something I think might work. And I'm not expecting miracles. I'm expecting something better. And we deserve something better and we'll get it if Reform get in government. But they need huge numbers of votes to do that. So my support, I make no bones about it, is with Reform. Now, obviously, they've had the challenges because of what's happened with Ben Habib and Rupert Lowe, and they've decided to do their own thing. We must understand that Ben wasn't sacked from the party. He might even still be a member, I'm not sure. He walked away of his own accord. 2 people were asked to step down, he and David Bull. David Bull still stays as a supporter and usually does speeches and openings on their public events. Ben decided to take the hump because he doesn't like the way the party's set up. I'm grateful for the way the party's set up because people who have took the hump with him over very small issues could have unseated him by now with a different setup. How dangerous was that with these council elections? We wouldn't have any councils because these other people have only been have been blogging about themselves, growing their own crowd. Understandable, but nevertheless, it didn't create any council candidates, did it? They didn't have anything to offer you. That's the bit, you can only get people away from something if you've got something else to offer them. And there isn't anything. And it's highly unlikely there will be because people have no idea how hard it is to set up and make a political party successful. You've only got to look at Reform. How long have they been going? They were the Brexit party before that. So how long has that taken? 6, 7 years? And that's with a well-known face at the helm. It was just rumbling along when Richard Tice was at the helm. So this isn't favouritism at all. And it will come as no surprise to me because I got a text about it about 3 days ago. 3 days ago, someone sent me a WhatsApp saying that Rupert's plan is probably to talk to Robert Jenrick and possibly return to the Tories. Surprise! I'm not surprised that that's happening. And then yesterday it was leaked with Alex Armstrong on GB News that Jenrick and Rupert are in talks. Now, it's obvious if you just follow it. Rupert and the Tory party, the Conservatives, as they call themselves, have been retweeting each other. That's support, isn't it? And I thought, well, where are you going with this? And then when you think he stood down in 2019 at the election for his own accord, wasn't asked to, I'm told he wasn't asked to stand and he wasn't one of the MPs that were going to stand down. But he stood down anyway for the Tories. He wanted to. So obviously maybe he feels that he belongs with the Tories. I don't belong with the Tories. I'll never vote for the Tories. Not a sodding chance. I will not forgive them for what they did with the WASPy women, because you've got to remember with the WASPy, it was Ken Clarke back in the day, years ago, before it were all televised, before we could have social media and the internet to find out. It was Ken Clarke who brought in the delayed pension, putting us back up to 65, 64 it was. Then George Osborne brought it up to 65. They've betrayed WASPy women and spent all our money. Then there was Brexit, betrayed again, betrayed on fishing, betrayed on every single thing. They've gifted this country away. And then the biggest betrayal, handing it over to Labour. That's what the Tories did. They were in power. If they were serious about immigration, why did they only start discussing it in any real terms after they left power? Why didn't they discuss it while they were in power? Why did Rishi Sunak shut Suella Braverman down? Why? Because she was talking like this and she couldn't get anything through. Why do you think her husband's joined Reform? Come on, the writing's on the wall here. The Tories are over the toast. People will not, I will not trust the Tories ever again, because all they're interested in is the power itself for the sake of power. Even, the people that are involved with, I don't want to slag them off because they're our side of the fence, but, some people involved in certain movements are interested in bringing Boris back. This is a man who absolutely flooded us with immigration and didn't deliver Brexit and said he'd die in a ditch when he didn't, and shoved net zero to top of the bill. Top of the bill. This man is not to be trusted, in my view. I won't trust him. You suit yourselves. But I will not trust the Tory party. And to hear that, there's rumblings of talks with it doesn't surprise me at all. And the thing I'm glad about, these journalists that we had to suffer through lockdown as well, don't forget. Did you hear any of these journalists, these top flight journalists, the Pestons of this world, the Kevin Maguire, did you hear one of them ask one salient question during lockdown when they were there at the 5 o'clock bulletins? Weren't you there? I was there chomping at the bit, like after Partygate. My first thing was, hang on a minute, you're concentrating on the wrong stuff here. You're going on about Boris. Oh, let's have a go at Boris. They partied. He must be pulled up over that. No, what should have happened is that should have been treated as a laboratory test. There's all those people mixing and partying. Nobody got sick. Nobody went to hospital. Nobody died. Open the country. That's it. That was, you could have opened the country on the strength of that. But no, the journalists didn't talk about that, did they? They talked about just nobbling Boris. Do you see what I mean? I mean, I don't trust the journalist class anyway. They've gone worse. They're just clickbait. I mean, some of the stuff that's going out. Even when Tommy came out of jail yesterday, they were hiding in the bushes with telephoto lenses. They didn't look like they were there, but they were there. And then they took shots that weren't very flattering. You make me sick. You really do make me sick. No wonder people turn to podcasts for a bit of reality. I do it myself. I don't trust journalists. I trust a few. Bev Turner, trust her. And there's a few more. Patrick Christie, he's okay. But people are going to go to podcasts because they cannot trust the news. Anyway, yesterday it is now. That was a good day. That press conference was superb. Tommy's free, filling his belly with all the good stuff and ready to rock and roll again for everything he believes in. What's not to love?